I'm Ben Bies.
And I'm Carlie Bies. We've been married for 12 years and together for 15 and have 2 boys.
This is our story of a controlling church and spiritual abuse and how it shook our relationship and clouded our view of God.
Our desire is that our honest view of pain and trauma in relationships can provide hope and the courage to hold on when life does not turn out as planned,
while also providing a dash of humor and loving banter.
We are still working to find wholeness, and we welcome you on our journey. Happy New Year, everyone. We are back.
Happy New Year.
And ready to continue our story from our holiday Q&A. Thank you for everyone who submitted questions, and hopefully we got most of your questions answered and you enjoyed, I don't know, just what that episode was about. Maybe, hopefully it brought some clarity to some things. We have a special episode tonight. This one, it's still going in flow with our story, but it is a topical episode, and it's about all of the different businesses that we were a part of for the church.
I've been looking forward to this one.
He really has. So we're in the day and age where everybody has their own business doing something. I mean, it's insane, right? There's people have started everything you can think of. You have to remember that this is almost 10 years ago, so things were different.
More than that. 13 years ago, 14 years ago, yeah.
So things looked a little bit different. Social media was not like it is today. There were no such thing as influencers or really anything for that matter to help you start a business. But if you've had an idea for a business, guarantee we've probably tried it or done it. It doesn't have to be a good idea. We prefer the bad ones.
So the reason we were doing these businesses is because we were at a church in Los Angeles, didn't have a lot of people that were making a lot of money, and we really had vision in our heart that this was going to be an amazing nationwide ministry. Wait, international ministry, not just nationwide.
It was in the title, the name of the church, obviously.
Yeah.
International.
If you're in an international church and you're not international, leave the church. But the whole reason behind all these businesses was we couldn't bring enough money in just from tithes and offerings in order to propel the church into what it needed to do. So we needed to be innovative and come up with these businesses in order to fund the church. So instead of asking for money from outside sources, we would use the money generated by the businesses in the church. And
there were, a lot of talented people in the church that were capable of doing a lot of things.
Carlie, for one.
No, I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about everyone else. That's true. Everybody, at that time, people were talented. A lot of people were good at cooking, others at sewing, knitting, crafting sort of things.
Such high compliments. It's really good at knitting and crafting.
And that's the highest compliment anyone could ever give me. Anyway, there were some talented people. But so it's not like it was a total band of misfits coming together to put. I mean, it sort of was, but a lot of the ideas were spurred off of some of the talents that people in the church had. Whether or not they were extremely talented or the best at all of these things, that wasn't necessarily the case, but it was enough to kind of propel us into starting another business.
Let me be more specific. It was more what the pastor thought he was good at. So let's not say it was what the congregation was good at. He found people were good at what he thought was a good idea.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. That's what I mean, yeah. And there was somebody that was capable enough to do parts of the business. Anyways, we'll just get into it. So to start, with the first business that was kind of going on when we started going to the church, correct?
Yeah, it had started before, but we really gave it the extra oomph to get it into be a real business. Priestly Garments.
Yes, Priestly Garments was the name of the company. Go ahead and explain, Ben.
Okay, so Priestly Garments was worship wear for people who were dancing during a service. So shawls to dance with things that almost look like angel wings, or flags people would twirl around. And anybody who's in that kind of church understands what I'm saying.
Yeah, this was like a specific, like,
For charismatic churches,
yeah,
or
like,
people that danced around during churches. Streamers that people would use. So it was an entire product line of stuff to be used during worship.
yeah, and like outfits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you would put on over your normal clothes if you were
Yeah.
a dancer. Mm-hmm. That was business number one. That didn't get a lot of traction. But I specifically remember going to the Christian bookstore to try to put it on the shelf, and I got denied, but I tried.
You're such a hustler.
I was a hustler, baby.
And I'd like to say that I was one of the seamstresses for Priestly Garments.
Yeah. But your seamstressing didn't come through until the next business.
True, that's true.
Which was?
Off the Chain, it was called. Now now let me start by saying this was actually an excellent idea, but it hadn't been around yet, so it seems crazy. Off the Chain was a clothing company for your pets.
Yeah, specifically dogs.
Yes.
And more along the line of hip-hop clothing.
Correct. Yeah, Off the Chain, duh.
Yeah.
Now, this is everywhere. Like, people, like, are obsessed with their animals and dress them up and, like, all of these things. It's crazy. But, yeah, 15 years ago, this was unheard of and kind of like, what? So, yes, I definitely helped in making some very darling little hip hop.
So if
Outfits.
you want to start a business, you should have more than 2 people working like a sweatshop in somebody's house trying to make clothing, and then have like 20 outfits. You can't start a business with like 20 outfits with like 2 ladies doing all the sewing. Right?
What did we try to do with that? Like, marketing wise, I wasn't part of any of that stuff.
Yeah, that was before we got really good at marketing. So
Okay.
yeah, that was.
He's being clearly sarcastic.
But I would say this. I mean, if you know any of the Halloween costumes our children have had, I'd like to attribute that to Off the Chain, when Carlie really got her kick in with sewing.
See, and like I said before, the highest of compliments would be, you're so crafty and such a good seamstress costume maker.
We're so different. If
Yeah.
someone called me crafty, I would not be happy.
Well, because you aren't crafty. That's
Yeah.
okay. But I'll never forget when, obviously, this business yet fizzled out. I don't know where it was, if it was somewhere in like LA or if it was at Fashion Island, and seeing like a little stand with dog clothing, and was kind of like, oh my gosh, we were right. Because everything was like, there was so much enthusiasm in it, but it was kind of like every business was kind of like, I'm kind of embarrassed to like tell my parents about it, because it's just a little weird, but there was so much enthusiasm behind it, but like there's still like a little party that's kind of embarrassed about it, because you're like, yeah, I want to agree with you. Like,
yeah, I made a bunch of dog clothes in someone's apartment in Hawthorne.
Yeah, I want to be so on board with you that this is so awesome, but I'm not going to tell anybody about it. So that was Off the Chain. The next one,
I'll do this one.
Okay.
A barbecue. So, we were told multiple times by our head pastor that all the churches in LA basically built their humongous churches based upon, they sold a lot of barbecue. That's how they did it. So, in order to do this, I built a smoker out of brick.
Very proud of this one.
I'm very proud of this. And in fact, I'm going to put a picture up from Facebook and Instagram of the smoker so everyone can see how awesome it is. But got bricks donated at half price from a place, and then went and picked up a bunch of other bricks from an old place on Craigslist and built a smoker. And it was the actual cooking surface, I think, was like 6 feet by 4 feet, and there was 3 racks that were 6 feet by 4 feet, and then the wood pile that was another 2 feet by 3 feet. It was an amazing smoker barbecue built at the back of our church. It was amazing. But that was one of the businesses and was horrible.
So really, we have been to blame for this business.
To blame me. And
such a horrible business, but it's kind of your fault. You built this.
It is my fault.
smoker.
I had this idea, and I was like, "Oh, I'll build this." And it was just another. Again, it was one of those things where I thought, I know how to do things with my hands. I can build something. I'll build this. This will help. And it was the bane of my existence for probably about a year, because when we were going to sell barbecue, me and another one of my one other friend who was also an armor bearer, had to stay at the church the entire night watching the smoker and cooking it through the night so that it was literally cooked for 16 hours. And we were called multiple times during that time saying, if this is messed up when we get there in the morning, any realm of possibility was possible after that.
Yeah.
You will, be going to hell, or you are a horrible person, or you've ruined everything. And so we're like sitting up the whole night. And
But what was the? We sold barbecue to the neighborhood,
Well, the idea was to sell it to the neighborhood. Let's be honest. What happened is we sold it to our own church. So we basically could have taken a tithe and said, "Give us $20 extra," instead of just cooking all night. Because the idea was, we'll sell it to the neighborhood. But our head pastor was so proud of his cooking that he would price it like $20.
Yeah, it was so expensive.
It
was so expensive.
$25 for really good barbecue. I mean, it was all smoked authentically. It was ribs, it was chicken, sweet potato, Carlie's favorite cobbler.
Oh my gosh, we'll get into that later. But my question is, there are lots of barbecue places, and a lot of them smoke their ribs or brisket or whatever for 12 to 16 hours. Are they staying up all night watching the smoker? Was it your particular smoker that things had to be flipped and rotated?
Yeah,
or was it just another aspect of control?
I did
or
not.
Both?
No, it was both. But I built an amazing smoker, but it didn't have it didn't rotate on its own, so I had to rotate it myself. This is where I grew a great affinity to backwoods cigars, because me and my buddy used to sit there, and again, like the smoking the cigarettes, which I never did beyond that point we talked about the last time. I would smoke honeyberry backwoods, and we would sit there by the barbecue, and it'd be like 3 or 4 a.m. in the middle of LA, knowing who knows what's going on around us with all the sounds and everything else, and we just sit there and just look at each other like, well,
here we are.
This is our life.
And how often did you guys do this?
Well, when we were trying to get it going, it was probably
A couple nights a week?
a couple nights a week. We'd do it in the middle of the week, and then at the end of the week, and try and sell it and put out posters around the neighborhood. And that business
Yeah. Okay.
did not turn profit.
So now here we are on what are we on? 1, 2, 3, 4, third one, and we have still we are now we're now in the red with the church. we've made $0, but we've now lost money.
Yeah.
Because all of this stuff takes money to, like, up front. And then when you're not making any money, it just, yeah. And our pastor was a good cook, but there was just no marketing involved. There just was no, like, thought through and planning.
And honestly, someone's going to go to a restaurant and buy a $20 barbecue meal, not the back of a church.
Yeah, agreed.
So, and I
unless
brought
you're
that
like
up.
a mega church, a huge
Right.
church,
Yeah.
or, and you've...
I brought it up a couple times to say, well, maybe we should change the pricing, and I was shamed to say, well, how dare you say that the cooking is worth less than $20 a plate? And I just thought, well, thinking through it, maybe if we sold a larger capacity for a lower amount of dollars, we'd still come up with more money, as opposed to a small capacity. And here's the other problem. There's people in the church who would always say it'd be like an IOU.
Oh my
and
gosh,
would come and
that's
get
right.
food. And then would never pay us. So we were actually losing more money because we probably had 20 people that said, well, hey, we'll pay you later.
Yeah.
And then our pastor was like, oh, give them some food. I'm like, okay, cool, man.
And would you guys ever even really get any?
No, I
Kind of
would
eat, like, throughout the...
Yeah, I would eat through the cooking process and through the shaming process.
Can I talk about the cobbler?
Yeah, well, let me say this. When I was building the barbecue, one of my good friends, who hopefully we'll have on later in the show, was so mad at me because I had an idea in my mind about how I was going to build the barbecue, but didn't have it written out. And he was so mad. He's like, there's no way. You don't know how to do bricks. You can't do this. You can't. You don't know how to build this. Let's just go get some people that are standing by Home
Hire some
Depot.
Home Depot guys.
that are looking for work and have them build it. And I just kept saying, no, we can do it. And when it got done, I would like to say, hey, I was right.
Classic Ben.
It was in my mind, and I got it done. So talk about the cobbler.
So the cobbler was, like, one of the desserts for the barbecue. Like,
Which is obvious.
we did, like, a plate lunch, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be, like, ribs. Was it just ribs? Was it brisket?
It'd be ribs, brisket, sometimes chicken.
Okay.
A side, which was either beans or baked beans or
mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese.
Greens.
Yeah, greens. Really good greens. I kind of miss those greens, actually. With a little hot sauce.
And then there was cobbler. So there were some things that our pastor did, like, really well as far as cooking. Then there were some other things that were just like, what? And I don't know if it was like because I had also worked for a barbecue catering company, like an authentic Texas barbecue company, for almost 10 years through college and post-college. So I feel like I kind of knew how a lot of things were made and how it was authentically supposed to look. Anyway, so the cobbler had a great crust because it was someone else's crust recipe at the church. She knows who she is. Excellent crust recipe. But the filling was just canned diced peaches, like with more sugar, like mixed into it. So like canned peaches, like, yeah, they're like already super sweet, right? So let's mix some more sugar into it and then bake it and then like sell it like it's the most amazing cobbler in the world. And I'll never forget, you were like trying to tell a guy, isn't this like the best cobbler you've ever had? It's like oh my gosh, it's like the best. Isn't it so good? And the guy was like, yeah, it's pretty sweet. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed right now. It's like trying to sell something that just is, oh my gosh, yeah, just very, very obviously like not made, like homemade. And I get that, like, you know, not everything can be homemade when you're selling food, but like this particular like was such a like cut corner that it was like just embarrassing. The other stuff was like good, you know, at least, but the cobbler was, I just was like, no, I'm not even going to try a bite of your cobbler. I'm not even going to try it.
So the barbecue wasn't extremely successful. In fact, when we talk later about our trip to Africa, our second trip to Africa, we had done all this barbecue to make it happen, and we lost all the money. But
oh my gosh.
the next one is, we're a little out of order, but I want to go to the next one is because the three later all have to do with graphic design. The next one we'll go to is the daily devotionals. So I'll explain this because this was the bane of my existence for, I don't know how long we talked about doing it, but it was maybe 6 to 12 months.
Well, and you have to understand too that like each of these businesses, like, I mean, we, not always me necessarily, but Ben and the pastor and whoever else is involved, like threw themselves fully into this business. So I'm talking like we bought stock in styrofoam to go plates and bought all new like chafing ware and all of these things like that maybe had we like thought through, like let's wait to buy, 2,700 to go plates when we're not even sure we're gonna like sell a plate. So yeah, so this wasn't just like, oh, this is a good idea, let's try this out. It was like, no, we've spent our life savings on every single tool and accessory and fabric and whatever it is to make this business successful, and then wasn't. Yes. So next was daily devotionals.
And this was just to think about it now. It almost is like, how dumb were we? But so we wanted to do a daily devotional that was electronic, that people could experience. So it would be a Bible passage, worship song, music, and then like meditation, and
which exists. So like, again,
it's great.
Like,
it's awesome.
Not a terrible idea. Like,
here's the terrible part of it is because the point we were at our life, it was, our daily devotional was an hour long. So it was an hour long daily devotional with real life pictures of someone like worshiping in nature. And then we talked about maybe doing one for people who aren't as spiritual that was only like a half an hour. And it's like, really?
Well, and you guys had to get all the footage of like each other worshiping in nature too. Like I'm talking special trips up to the mountains for this footage.
Yeah. So it would be original music, footage of someone in the background worshiping while music was being played and scripture was being read. And when I say it's the bane of my existence, it's because it was for about 6 months where no matter where me and Carlie went or me and anyone else went, I had to bring a video camera and like set it up somewhere and worship. So I remember going to Colorado for vacation and I had to get up at like 4 a.m. and drive to this remote lake.
Oh, for the sunrise.
Yeah, for the sunrise. And set up a camera on a park bench with me on my knees, raising my hand to the sunrise over the lake.
I'm so embarrassed right now.
Or one time we went with Carlie's family up to like Mammoth, and I would leave in the morning and leave at night when all this family stuff was going on in order to make sure I got the sunset or the sunrise with me lifting my hands or whatever. So
I'm so annoyed. And you were like, that was expected of you to do because.
Well, it was going to be the next big thing. I mean,
everything was the next big thing for sure. Everything was the next big thing, but even if you weren't inadvertently told like you need to do this, if their pastor knew that you were going to be somewhere, it was just kind of expected, or he'd make you say it yourself, like, oh, do you want me to? Like,
should I bring the camera?
Oh, yeah, I can bring the camera and I'll
do you want me to just... Oh, like, no,
it'll be so easy. You don't have to worry about it. It'll be so easy.
Her family's all hanging out and having fun together. I'll just slip away for a couple hours and drive to the remote part. Oh, my.
Yeah, but that was like his way of like getting it off him and putting it on you guys, so then like it was your decision that you made.
Yep. the next 3 businesses before we get to the major business that crumpled everything, which we won't go over today, all involved graphic design. The first the first one was a t-shirt business. So
again, like everybody does that now. You know?
Everybody does that. Back then it was the first one we had was something called the first Christmas tree. And it was a cross as the first Christmas tree with presents underneath it, and then the ornaments were dropping into blood as they came down. And it was called the first Christmas tree, which was the cross.
Yeah. It had a cross on it. Yeah, that was because it was made of wood. It was a chopped down tree, hence the first Christmas tree.
So we made t-shirts of this.
Yes.
And then eventually greeting cards, which we'll get to in a little bit. But with these shirts, it was, again, we were all in. We were ready to go. We wanted this to happen. And just imagine me and Carlie on the corner of a street selling t-shirts. If you want to drive down, go to 140th in Vermont. And just imagine me and Carlie, whenever the red light comes, walking between cars saying, hey, you want a shirt? If anyone wonders, yes, I've had experience walking in LA between cars at a red light trying to sell t-shirts. So yeah, I've done it. I have done it.
It's on your resume.
I've done it. I have done it proudly. I have sold 0 shirts.
But yeah, we had to do that after church on Sundays, and I remember being like mad about it. I hated doing that. I hated it. But I also felt like, oh, the white Orange County girl, like that's why she hates it, you know? And like I would tell myself that too, that it was wrong to like not enjoy this when really it was just stupid.
And we sell the shirts for just, I mean, you're selling a shirt on the street corner, you'd think like $5. It's like $25 for a t-shirt.
They were not that much, were they?
No, it was like $15 to $20 for a shirt, or you could get 2 for $40. And it's like, why would anyone driving a car buy a shirt with ornaments turning into blood of Jesus for $20? Now, the most embarrassing part about this is multiple Sundays, I would go with a couple of my friends and stand outside a mega church.
Oh my gosh.
In LA. I would stand outside there as people were coming out of the church, because there'd be a lot of people at the church trying to sell the shirts as they left the church. Talk about
illegal.
Wow. And you know, I would get yelled at, but is this our bishop's shirt? No, it's not your bishop's shirt. No, I'm just trying to sell a shirt. And here's what's even better is our friend went once to the mall with the shirts like underneath his coat and was like trying to sell it in the mall between stores. Oh yeah.
I can't.
We were told we had to, so we went to a couple malls in LA, and we're trying to sell shirts in the actual mall outside of the stores.
Oh my gosh. So we were so thirsty for money, clearly.
But we hustled. Talk about a side hustle.
Yeah.
All you people who drive Uber, get out of here. You get paid. All right? That's not a side hustle. Side hustle when you do stuff you don't want to do and don't get paid. All right?
And work all night and all day. It was brutal.
The next one with graphic design was funeral home brochures.
Well, so we're starting to feel like, oh yeah, we really got a knack for this what's it called?
Design?
Graphic design thing. We made t-shirts, so let's move on to the next thing that we can try and capitalize on. Funeral home brochures. How did this come about? Like, did someone pass
No,
away?
that's
in
what
our
I'm
church?
saying.
Okay,
Like
sorry.
someone, I'm trying to tell you, someone had passed away in our church, and we'd gone to one of the funeral homes, and there was not brochures. I'm sorry, that's horrible. If someone died, it was a program when someone died of an obituary and a picture of them and the songs we were going to sing. And our pastor was like, "Well, we could do this. Well, why don't we just offer this service to everybody?" All these funeral homes and just do a printed brochure for all the people who pass away that includes pictures of them, and it was all elaborate and over the top and whatever it was. But I dove in head first. And I really, I remember this day at the church office, I had a map with a pinpoint in every funeral home within 15 miles of where we were. And I was systematically calling or going to every single funeral home, presenting a brochure, and telling them how incredible our funeral home brochure was. And put it this way, no one wants to pay extra for that. Especially when it's probably like $500, something dumb. Like something totally crappy. Pay a ton of money for something totally crappy.
So, if you're noticing a theme here, it's that we've had pretty unsuccessful business ventures that we've lost a lot of money. A lot of money.
So now we come to
The bane of our existence.
Well,
Not quite, actually. This
yeah,
is the pre.
right pre-bane of our existence. The and this is where we have to spend a lot of time because there are stories that you just can't make up. So you just please stick with us on this. You can't make up these stories. It was a greeting card business.
Yeah. So here's an idea. Let's start a company that's already, like, in a category that's already doing pretty well. There's not a need for greeting cards. I'm just going to say that. There's not a need for greeting cards. Hallmark's doing just fine. What's the other one? Dayspring.
Dayspring, yeah, they're doing pretty good too, yeah.
So, I don't even know why this became a thing. Well, I guess because they were like ethnic. They were ethnic greeting cards, and there's not a huge market for ethnic greeting cards.
Yeah, and our pastor had made a card for someone in the church of him and his wife for their anniversary, and just thought...
Oh, of the person he gave the card to? Okay.
Said, "Dude, this is amazing. We can make greeting cards." And it was an interracial couple in our congregation. He thought, well, look, I'm doing something no one else is doing, and...
Yeah, see, this is where we had it all wrong. You can't compliment him on anything that he was doing, because it gave him like the ideas and like the power to like move forward in something that like you couldn't talk him out of something that he had that he was going for. So
you couldn't, and it ended up being the most miserable the most miserable thing ever. So, first of all, the company name.
Yeah.
Holy Writ Greeting Cards.
Not right. Writ.
WRIT. So if you don't ever make a company name where someone's like, "Hey, how do you say that?"
Or how do you spell that? Constantly like misquoted and
all the time.
Yeah. But this was probably up until this point, the biggest business.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, this was a year and a half or 2 years of like really
blood, sweat, and tears.
Intense work, finances, energy. I mean, this was like the big one. Mm-hmm. This was the big fish that was gonna bring us millions in order to buy the jet to fly us around the world to spread the gospel. But yeah, it was a greeting card company. Let me just I'm gonna share with you some of the press release that we wrote.
Oh my gosh.
Holy Writ Greeting Cards officially announced today the unveiling of a competitive new line of greeting cards. The line has been in development for a year, debuting with over 250 cards in its order fulfillment center and new cards created daily. Holy Writ has found immediate and overwhelming success primarily because of its specialized marketing to the commercially underrepresented Christian, African American, Latino, and urban markets.
Did you write this?
Either me or someone else, yeah. Holy Writ Greeting Cards points out they are not reinventing the wheel. Although only a few companies dominate the current greeting card market, several unmined mother lodes of the American marketplace are not being recognized. No, we're not reinventing the wheel, says one Holy Writ employee, probably myself.
And you already said that in the first sentence.
We're driving the vehicle where the wheels have never been.
Oh my gosh.
In most mediums, these markets remain unrecognized until the dollar signs begin to surface. So, goes on like that, but the slogan was "The way we say it, the way we do it." And I was the regional manager, so.
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's huge.
Yeah, my buddy was only district manager, so. That was the regional one. But this greeting card company, wow.
When this kind of started, your armor bearer duties kind of got morphed into like employee
Business duties.
duties.
Yeah, exactly.
And business duties.
Very, very good point.
So you now have a boss who is not just a boss, but also your pastor.
Right. A CEO who's my pastor, who's my pastor, who I'm an armor bearer to, who.
So a lot of just different levels like tangled together that were confusing, and it just increased the manipulation even more so, because not only can you can't say no to your pastor, but you definitely can't say no to your boss.
Yeah, of the multi-million-dollar company that is bringing greeting cards to an underrepresented population. So the way we did these greeting cards, we had them printed, and then we had to score them ourselves.
Yeah, but it's important for the people to know what the cards looked like in terms of. Our pastor had no graphic design, like previous graphic design, like.
Well, here's where part of this comes
right?
in, where Carlie doesn't know the whole story.
Oh boy.
He had tried to do some things for the church earlier, where there was a legitimate graphic designer in the church who, I don't know if to this day he still works, but he worked like when Lionsgate started. He did movie posters. I mean, he was like a legit graphic designer, and he basically told our pastor like his stuff was complete junk. And obviously, he wasn't at the church very long, but he had said, you know, your stuff isn't very good. It's clip art-ish, and which it was. I mean, who puts drop shadows on wording unless you're an 8th grader? So at least I know that now. So I think it almost fueled his desire to like show that he could do better. And then he found this program called Photoshop. So I blame Adobe for this, and that he could like take a picture and somehow cut it out and put it with a different background. And go ahead and go to our Facebook and Instagram. You'll see a couple examples of the cards.
So terrible.
You will see them, how incredible the graphic design is on them.
And these were out in the public for people to purchase.
These were what we were trying to sell to our families when we went to functions and gatherings.
I mean, we had to put like our full souls behind this.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we had to be diehards for these cards. And really, like, kind of everywhere we went had to talk about how great they were, how they've, like, changed our lives, how there's nothing like it out there. And, I mean, just, It just, again, was like another representation of like, I'm trying to sell something that I'm just not fully bought into, but I'm like, feel like I'm being tricked into being told how great it is.
And some of it was, I mean, there are not a lot of cards that are more for the charismatic church. So there was one that said,
that was what they were trying to capitalize on.
well, no, it was an African American Christian inspirational. Okay, we had a whole line of cards with different tags, but we had interracial cards. We had seasonal holiday cards, urban flavor cards, women's inspirational cards, the Christian worship inspirational cards, the African American heritage cards, all occasions greeting cards, the e-cards that we started, the handmade greeting cards, humorous greeting cards. So we had an entire line of cards, but the basis of it was that it was going to serve underrepresented populations, and one of them was "This tongue's for you" with a woman on the front, and it was like, gibberish, and said, "Praying for your healing. This tongue's for you," like
as in speaking in tongues.
Speaking in tongues.
Yeah, one of our best sellers, right?
I guess if you could say that.
I'm just kidding. That was a joke. Oh my gosh.
So most of these cards were towards specific populations, which was so interesting because we did have a part of our all occasions card that was white trash.
No, it was.
No.
It's not what it was called. That would have been too.
No,
offensive.
it was white trash. No, it was. No, it was, and it was like roadkill, and it was like two guys holding up a possum, and something
like
else
farmers
is like
or
roadkill. Like, oh, happy birthday! We're eating this possum for dinner. And
you wrote that card, didn't you?
no, I didn't.
It wasn't called white trash. It was something else, but it was white trash for sure. But it wasn't called that because that would have not been politically correct.
But the rest of them were basically, we had a whole line that was mama cards, like, didn't mama tell you have a happy birthday, or don't make mama come out there and tell you have a happy birthday. And this was like our main cards. And we did all these cards. Our head pastor would always send them. We'd say, "Oh my, I can't believe how incredible that card is."
Yeah,
That's
you always
so
had
amazing.
to be like overly just affirmative in everything you did. Like, had to compliment everything above and beyond reality, really.
Yeah.
Which also just continued to fuel him. And if you didn't, then you were talked to. And
we were really innovative. We had these e-cards that we were filming people that were going to come out of the card, and some of it was it would have been really good at the time. We just couldn't do it all. But the first time that these cards were unveiled in the public was at a Juneteenth marketplace in Los Angeles on June 19. And Juneteenth is the celebration of emancipation from slavery. And we had a booth at this park, and it was our greeting cards. And at the booth was me, one of my friends who is, hope this isn't offensive, as white can be. I mean, like reddish hair, really pale skin. And then another one of my friends who is multiracial but looks white. And we were selling these cards, and our pastor had come up with a new card. And again, try not to be at all offensive. This was a card he came up with and said, "This is going to be a bestseller." And it said NEGRO, please. And on the inside said, "Have a happy birthday." And on the front with that wording had a woman shaking her finger. And we went to this...
Kind of like, oh, please.
Yeah. We went to this park, and we started trying to sell cards.
And it was just the three of you.
And it was just the three of us.
Just the three of you white guys.
And...
Were you the only white people there?
No, probably, but... yeah, probably. And he had just come up with this card. It was a new card, and we'd been selling these cards at our church. Yeah, yippee! At our 100-member church, with people buying cards for like $3 a piece. And he'd just come up with this card, and I saw it, and I said, you know what? I don't feel right putting this card out. With me being who I am, with my skin color, I just at a Juneteenth celebration, I don't feel right. I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to do it. And we sold cards that whole day, and of course, I mean, who cares? You sell 300 cards, you make $150. Like, what good is that? But he came at the very end, because he would never come till the end because he was so busy doing all these things that were so important, like coming up with new cards that were just horrible. And
so busy doing trash.
And he said, "Where's that end please card that I came up with?" And I said, "You know what? I didn't feel right selling it." And he scolded me for a long time and said, "You're crazy. You're insane. This is the best seller. This is." So he stayed at our booth for 15 or 20 minutes, and everyone who walked by, he proceeded to just try to sell that one card. Over and over, just sell that one card. That one card. He ended up selling
just to kind of prove the point.
Yeah, he ended up selling like 2 cards because it's the only card he's trying to sell. And then tried to say, "Look, see, it was the best seller. We could have sold."
Yeah.
I mean, if we sold 100 of those, we would have made $100
right.
for a booth.
Right.
But it was like one of those situations where I just thought, I can't do this. And
yeah, got in trouble for it. Well, so you're first getting in trouble because you don't know his people,
right?
And now you're in trouble for trying to like be sensitive about something.
Yeah, which it was right for me. To this day, I do the same thing. I won't
Yeah.
sell that card. Like, I don't think, for me who I am, like, I wouldn't do it. And in fact, even whoever it is, I wouldn't sell that card. Like, that's not a card I would have in the line of anything I would do. So let's just make that clear.
Now, you guys did like several like trade shows, and I guess they're just called trade shows, right?
Yeah.
And not just like local ones, but you went to like all the way to the East Coast
Oh, yeah.
to like try and sell these cards.
Oh, yeah. This was the big break.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
if anyone ever in business that said this is the big break, this was ours. And there was 3 shows we went to. The first one was before we went across the country, obviously the Juneteenth one. Then we did one at the African Marketplace in Leimert Park down in L.A. And
this was like was this like a month long, like every weekend?
Yeah, it was a
long time.
It was a long situation. We had a booth there. It's in dirt. I mean, we have to pedal all our stuff in every day, you know, and again, it's me and the other 2 guys, the same people selling the cards, you know, like, and we're at the African Marketplace, and there's and I'll never forget it. 2 booths down, there was a Muslim Brotherhood guy who was playing extremely loud clips saying that white man is the devil. 2 booths down, and I just thought, well, you know, I got a cool hat and shaved my head and
Oh my gosh.
tried to look cool.
So you guys did this like all day Saturday, all day Sunday,
Yeah,
right?
for
because
like-
I know
yeah.
you missed church for it.
Yeah,
Because it was for the cause.
yeah, and
And it was at least like 3 weekends.
yeah, it was. And here was my selling point when someone walked by. This was the best I could do. Hey, you got a mama? Everyone got a mama, right? Check out these cards.
My gosh.
Mama says have a happy birthday.
As you can tell, Ben has very successful sales skills.
Extremely good. Hey, you got a mama? I got a mama. Check out this card. We got mamas.
Oh my gosh.
But it was a really hard situation. I mean, we were trying to sell, and honestly, we were accepted really well, and it was great.
And it wasn't an awkward.
No, not at all.
It was. We were really used to those types of situations.
Yeah, and it was an amazing group of people. And besides the people two booths down who were saying the white man is the devil, it was awesome. Like, had great reception of the cards, and people really enjoyed them. But if you can imagine me, walking and saying those things like, "Hey, you got a mama? I got a mama. Look at these cards," with a fedora hat on and
Kangol.
No, I had the white fedora at this point.
Oh my gosh, it gets worse. Yeah, you guys were keeping tabs on like what people said about everything. Like, oh yeah, so and so walked by, said she liked how this was made, or whatever.
No, I found an old
made notes.
Yeah, I found an old notepad, to be honest, that said like, "Oh, she said we should sell these to celebrities," and Oprah Winfrey, and so that was the first one. Was the African Marketplace in Leimert Park, and with the guy selling bean pies on the corner, and it was a, I went after it. I did my best.
Yeah.
And again, you're selling greeting cards. You could sell 500 and have a great day and really only make $200 for what you're paying for the booth.
Nothing makes up for
what you're paying for the booth, what you're paying for printing, what you're paying for whatever. I mean, obviously not the labor. You don't have to pay for that.
Nothing will make up for my sore finger scoring those cards all night.
Yeah, look up scoring cards. See how that works. We had to do it ourselves. But so because we were so successful there, we decided to go to the biggest gift trade show expo in the nation in Atlanta. So me and my buddy drove the entire way there.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But tell me, is it really cheaper driving there than it is flying? But you had all the supplies.
Yeah, because we had all our supplies.
That's right. That's
I mean, we had the racks. We had the purple plush park carpet we put in our booth.
The card racks. Oh my gosh, I want to gag thinking about it.
So yeah, we had to drive there with all our stuff. And there was one person in our church who did all the decorating for the booth, and he didn't come. So it was this big pressure on me. Can you do it as good as he does it? And that's not my thing, guys.
It's not his thing, you guys.
I don't want to make sure the shag purple carpet we put in there is straight.
And the sequined curtains.
And the sequin curtain, whatever. It was just complete mess. So we went to Atlanta.
Just the two of you guys go?
No, and then the pastor, another armor bearer, and then another one of the pastors showed up there. They all flew. We drove.
Of course.
And it was another situation. We got there, and the pastor didn't like the hotel, so we had to put him across the street because the hotel we got in, which was cheaper, was non-smoking. So we had to go to the place across the street. Not because he smoked, but just in case he wanted to, a.k.a. he smoked a cigarette every 5 seconds. So we went there, and there's nothing too critical about the Atlanta trade show. It's just we sat there.
You were gone. How long were you gone?
I mean, the trade show was like
first year of marriage.
Yeah. No, it was first. Maybe it was the second year of marriage. Yeah. The trade show was maybe 4 days, but
took you a couple days to get out there.
But took a couple days to get out there, a couple days to get back, and I mean,
clearly worth it.
I mean, you're trying to sell to wholesalers, so you're trying to sell to. It's not like people coming to buy. It's
individual.
It's stores coming to see if they want to put your products in their store.
Yeah.
And obviously, no stores wanted to put our products in their store. And I walked around for a while, and there was some really cool products.
Even
it was
in an expo, you're hustling.
Yeah, and there's a guy across who was doing cuckoo clocks that were different animals. They were awesome. And it was really nice to him. And he ended up giving us a couple cuckoo clocks to bring home that were just so cool. And I thought, gosh, if I was running business, I'd rather have those cuckoo clocks with like the cow coming out and saying moo than like, hey,
Negro, please.
your mama wants to say happy birthday. Or the white trash card, or our Latino heritage collection, which was in English and Spanish. Or yeah, any number of those. Carlie was on the card. Congratulations.
Yeah, a lot of the church members were on the cards, like as people.
Yeah,
which
Carlie,
is always kind of
Carlie and her friend
awkward.
were on the card. It was, best friends.
Yeah, it was the best friends card. But I feel like that's always a little bit awkward, like when there's actual, like real people on a card, unless it's like a humorous card, like those funny ones. But yeah, that made it like so much cheesier. The fact that there was like real people on it with terrible Photoshop and clip art added and drop shadows and yeah.
Yeah. Now the best part about the Atlanta trip is, and I'm so sorry for this. It's so embarrassing. I don't even want to say it, but we had put together a package for Tyler Perry.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're going over
So, we all know who Tyler Perry is.
and he wasn't as big as he is now.
No, it was like way
This is before
like,
all of his movies. Just
before
when he was doing
Medea
his
and everything
plays.
else.
His
Yeah,
Medea
just the
plays.
plays. Yeah, and he still had a place in Atlanta, and our head pastor was like 100% sure that if we just got our cards to Tyler Perry, he would be on board and he would fund us. So me and my buddy drove to his studios and, try to get through 2 or 3 security guards and give a package of all our cards to Tyler Perry. And hey, Tyler Perry, if you're listening, thanks a lot. All right, you never responded. I tried my hardest.
You could have ended this madness by just giving us the money we needed.
Or you could have ended it by just saying, "Look, you're horrible," and calling our pastor yourself. So thanks a lot.
That would not have ended it. That wouldn't have ended it.
But so that was the fun part of the Atlanta trip was going and embarrassing myself at his studios. And then we drove all the way back home after driving out there. And then the last one, and this was, we'll touch on this. Our next episode is going to be about the game show I was on, but this next one was based upon the fact that we were on a game show and we had won some money and we could do this. We went to Washington, D.C., to the Congressional Black Caucus, and we bought a booth there.
How much do these booths cost? At the time.
I don't know. A couple $1,000s. It wasn't crazy for the booth.
Okay. A couple $1,000s for a booth?
Yeah, but the travel there and
like
the
that's
hotels.
All, money out of our own pockets, right?
Yes. Carlie, thanks for reminding me. Yes, it was. In fact, the Congressional Black Caucus was probably the most expensive one we went to. I think the Juneteenth was like a couple $100.
Yeah.
The Atlanta one was a couple $1,000, but I think the Congressional Black Caucus was a little bit more expensive. But so we went there, and it was just like any other trade show. We were there for, I think it was a 4-day event, and me trying to sell mama cards to the Congressional Black Caucus, and again, received greatly by people. They were awesome, incredible people. Just, no return.
$0.
Honestly, you're gonna pay. I don't know how much the trip probably in all with hotels and flights and the booth. It was probably $10,000-$20,000 for
oh my gosh.
maybe not 20, but probably 10 grand for. I don't know what we expected, Obama to walk in and want our cards, and then I don't know if we expected that to happen. Probably, yeah. We had we had so much faith that something big was going to happen that it was just put us in the right situation and something big will happen.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a lot that went on there. What I remember about that trip mostly, beyond not selling any cards, meeting really nice people but not selling any cards, was that we were staying at a hotel and our head pastor, well, me and my buddy were staying in a room, and then he was staying in another room. It was a non-smoking hotel, and we would walk to our room, which was down the hall, and we could smell the smoke from his room. And I remember thinking, because we were funding this all on our own with whatever we had, thinking, why? You're going to cost us more money. It says, like, whatever the fine is for smoking in a room, could you just go outside or something? Just don't smoke in your room. So that was the big thing. And then the other thing was, I remember we went to watch a movie in his room, and it was like freezing cold. It was Washington, D.C. I think it was wintertime, yeah. And the movie was done, and we were sitting at the foot of the bed, and we were like freezing. We had to like sneak out the room because we were freezing, but we didn't think we could leave. It's just another one of those situations where you think, what kind of a-hole am I to just stay in the room? Like, just go back to your room.
Well, you weren't able to leave until he said it was okay for you to leave.
Yeah, so.
And yeah, I remember that because the AC was on in the room. You guys were like
so freezing.
So cold.
I was gonna die. Yeah.
And what was he doing?
In his bed, around multiple blankets, smoking, I don't know, and then falling asleep.
But like, you couldn't leave until he said, like, you could, because what if he needed something or whatever, like, and I remember that was just always the case. Like, you couldn't leave until, like, you would just hope that he would like fall asleep.
Yeah.
And later when we talk about like when you worked like at his house all the time, you would just wait for him to fall asleep so you'd be able to like go home and leave. Like, you couldn't be like, hey, is it okay if I go? Or
peace out,
weirdo. Or you're a grown adult, like, I'm leaving, going back to my room to go to bed.
Yeah, I have a college degree, you don't, so but that, I remember that, and I also remember this was at the point where we had nothing, and we had some money coming in from a game show we were in, but it wasn't in yet. And me and my buddy were staying together, and we were there first, and we literally had nothing.
Yeah, money.
We had no money. We couldn't buy food. We couldn't do anything. And
our accounts were like negative.
We both we were both at like $1, and we both looked at each other and said, okay, who's gonna overdraw in order for us to eat? And my friend ended up being the one who did it. And at that point, it wasn't the first time in our life we overdrew. If you're going to overdraw, you want to overdraw as much as they'll allow you to overdraw. Like, you don't want to go like, hey, I'll take $20 and take the hit, the $35 overdraft fee. You want to take as much as they allow you to. And so I remember him taking as much, I think it was like $100 at the time they allowed him to. And it's what we lived on. But we had zero money. We're sitting there like starving, hungry, didn't have anything. We were at this place that we were trying to sell the stuff that we couldn't sell. And
did that several times. Not on that
trip. That was the first. That was one of the. That was the first time though that I remember specifically thinking, okay, we're gonna make a real decision right now to overdraw, even though we don't have the money. And I remember doing that multiple times afterwards, but this was the first time I remember like legitimately doing it and saying, all right, we're gonna make this decision now to do it.
So sad.
So sad. But such a good business.
Holy Writ greeting cards was sort of the catalyst for the next business, which we will talk about probably in a couple episodes. The business that became Ben's job at the church, that is what really kind of broke things.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of terrible business ideas.
Terrible ones. Next time, just stay tuned. Next time, we're going to talk about a game show.
Yes.
And how we were on a game show.
Yeah, pretty cool.
And made some money in order to propel The craziness.
Yeah.
The worseness,
To, further worsen things. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jeff Foxworthy. That's it for tonight.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Final Four.
Welcome to our Final Four for the episode. This episode's Final Four will be each other's top 4 pet peeves.
Yeah, we're going to try and guess each other's.
Yes. Now, I know you've come up with more than 4 then for me.
Off the top of my head, 15 to 25.
Ben says I have a lot of pet peeves. It's just because I'm very particular.
Which is fine. That's why I love her. It's no big deal. But there's a lot of them.
Okay, I'll go first and tell you what I think 4
Okay.
of yours are.
Okay.
And then you can correct me or tell me
Okay.
what they are. Okay, so the first one is you don't like other people's hair on you
Oh, yeah.
or by you.
I didn't even think about
or
that, but yes, disgusting. It's
the
the most disgusting
shower.
thing ever. It's just so gross. Even my kid's hair is like, ugh,
Yeah.
just get off me. Yeah, that's really, really gross. Yeah, I have a hard time with that one.
Second one is you don't like the sheets too tight.
Oh, yeah.
And what kind of goes along with that is comforters on hotel beds.
Yeah.
Which is so
I can't
interesting
even, it gives me the EBGBs even thinking about it.
because you're not particularly a like clean freak or like care.
Yeah, there's
ton,
just,
but
it's
the
like one of those,
comforter thing is like you just that is like a shocker.
it's one of those
to me every
date
time.
lines that can never get out of your mind when they like blacklight the comforters in hotel rooms. So I never will use a comforter in a hotel room or a cup because they did the studies where they like they basically wash up the cup with the toilet water.
That's not true.
So gross.
So am I 2 for 2 so far?
Yeah,
Don't
I mean,
look at
I
my
didn't,
list.
I didn't
You're
even
cheating.
think.
You're looking at my list.
I didn't see it. I didn't even think of those two, but those are really, yeah.
Okay. My third one is when people don't give you enough personal space, like in line
Oh, in line, yeah, big time.
or if like in public places.
Yeah, when people crowd me, yes,
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
This is probably your biggest one in my opinion. That is so weird, and I just don't understand. But you don't like the clothes in your closet to be too tightly pushed up together because explain why you don't like them, like your clothes too tight, like when you push them all
I feel
to
like
the side.
when the clothes push too tight to each other, then it stretches out the necks on everything because they're pushing against each other and forming this gravitational pull down. I don't know.
I don't
think it's-
understand.
and I never hang up T-shirts, but I think at one point in my life I did hang up T-shirts, and then I feel like when everything got squished together, the T-shirts got pulled down and the necks got bigger. So I think
Is this even when they're hung up correctly?
going to Carlie's pet peeves, incorrectly hung up clothes.
There's
Things not color coded in the closet.
There's 2 holes in her shirt for a reason because that's where the hangers go through.
The arms
Not the
and
chest and the
neck.
back. So it's shocking to me that someone that is so unparticular about how he hangs up his clothes doesn't want them too tight together.
I guess that's true. Oxymoron there.
Oh
Jumbo
my
shrimp.
gosh, yeah. So those are the 4. How did I do? Pretty good.
Those are pretty good.
What were the ones you were thinking?
I would say there's 2 big pet peeves I have, and they're both weight
shoot.
room pet peeves.
Oh, okay. Well,
One would be people who walk around the weight room without shoes and lift without shoes. It's
my
so
gosh,
annoying to
people
me.
do that?
Yes, you know they're part of the new kick. Like, oh yeah, I'm a CrossFitter and I don't wear shoes to do my squats because I want to be down to earth. That kind of stuff really annoys me. Second one is guys that wear gloves in the weight room. It's like my biggest pet peeve. Just take off the gloves. Get some calluses. Seriously, stop wearing gloves. So, yeah, that's a huge pet peeve for me. Those two, and it's dumb and it's meatheadish or whatever, but I don't like those two things. I really have a hard time with it.
And I guess I'm never in the weight room with you, so I didn't really know
Yeah.
those. But now that you say that, I know that those things annoy you.
Yeah. So, sorry for you guys who wear gloves in the weight room. Don't ever lift around me.
Yeah, but I bet if you were to do like CrossFit, like seriously or something, then that
there's
makes
not the
maybe
CrossFit
makes
guys
more
that
sense.
are wearing gloves. It's like the people who
They're
are
the ones not wearing
deadlifting
shoes.
and yeah, whatever.
Oh, okay.
It's not like CrossFitters don't wear shoes. Anyway, those two things annoy me. The stuff on the gym says wear shoes.
Well, it just seems
It's like a
unsanitary.
rule. It's unsanitary and I hope you
dangerous.
drop a weight on your foot. I often think that. I hope that a weight just rolls over there and rolls over their toe. Not like catastrophic damage, but enough just to get them to wear shoes.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
All right.
Okay, so just limit it to 4 for me, but
Can't. The number one is, and I think I'm spot on this one, is people who get into the turn lanes and they're not turning, or let's say that there's a 3-lane road and there's a far right lane where someone could turn, and someone pulls into that lane right when we're going to turn right in front of us, and then Carlie will have to sit, or together we'll have to sit at that light and wait for that person who, if they would have just been considerate, wouldn't have gotten that lane, we'd be able to be turning on the red light.
it is truly my number one pet peeve. I don't know why it makes me so angry. Makes me so angry. It's worse when there's a car in the left lane, let's say, not the far left lane, but middle lane. And then there's a car that is behind them, and they want to be in front. They don't feel it's good enough just to be behind one car. So they pull to the right lane because they want to be in front too.
Which I would probably do.
See, I never do that because I always think, does someone have their clicker on behind me? Clicker as in blinker to see if they're going to turn right, because I'm not going to go in this lane if there's somebody behind me, because I hate that so much. It just feels very inconsiderate and inefficient.
Yeah.
And I hate both of those things.
Well, welcome to number 2, inefficiency. She read my mind. Number 2, inefficiency in anything in life. It could be at the library. It could be at the grocery store. It could be in our own home. Whatever it is, inefficiency is very, very hard for Carlie to deal with. And now it's become hard for me to deal with. I have a really hard time with inefficiency, too.
But who doesn't? I mean, are there
Yeah.
actually people who don't care about efficiency?
Yeah, but I think your brain just works in a different way, and you see how efficient a thing could be, where some people would think it's not inefficient, but you're like, oh no, this isn't inefficient. This could be
That's
done
true.
well. This could be done better.
Yeah, I feel sorry for those people who can't recognize those things.
Yeah, so I would say those are 2. Am I doing all right so far?
Yeah, those are right on.
Third is improper etiquette of any kind.
Oh my gosh. You're painting me to be such a jerk.
No, like improper etiquette, like not holding the door open,
Yes.
or peeing on the floor.
Oh, sue me. I live in a house with boys.
I just
Pray
say
for
peeing
me,
on the
please.
floor because our son does not know how to take the toilet.
Is it our son only?
100% our son.
Oh my gosh.
But I would say improper etiquette.
Yeah, that's accurate.
And then lack of response of any kind.
Yes.
So having, I guess this is maybe more of a personal one. Welcome to Marriage Therapy 101. If I don't respond to everything she's saying, in my mind I might be thinking about it, but if I don't, it doesn't have to be a big response. It
No.
can be a uh-huh or yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's neat.
That's amazing. Well, no, that's amazing would be over the top, and that would be awesome. But so anyway, that's a big pet peeve.
Yes.
Not responding to everything.
Yeah, when I'm telling a story, I want responses throughout my story that I'm telling you to know that you're interested, even if you're not interested. But yeah, responses every time I say something, anytime I say something. Because I feel like I'm really good at responding to people and letting them know I'm, like, engaged or that I'm contributing to the conversation. So other people don't do that.
Yes.
I hate it. Was that 4?
Yeah. What else you got?
You
that
pretty
I
much
missed?
summed up everything in life with those 4. This is just more, I absolutely hate when public bathrooms don't have paper towels. When they only have the air dispensers, it drives me nuts because I have a thing about germs, you know that.
Yeah,
And how am I supposed to wash my hands and dry them and then open the handle of the bathroom door to leave without having a paper towel to grab the bathroom door with?
you use your shirt like the rest of the world does.
No,
you
I'm not
pull
going to
the
use my
shirt over
shirt.
your
What if I'm wearing
hand
like
or
a nice shirt or something?
use
Then
your
I have the
pants.
germs on my shirt and then my kids rub their face on my shirt. I don't like that.
Yeah, I guess
That's
true.
a huge pet that really bothers me. And I know we're trying to like save the trees, but I just would rather not and use as many paper towels as I want. Like all those paper towels, like there's signs, you know, like conserve, like all you need is 2. I will always take at least 3, sometimes 4, to make sure that my hands are dried and I have enough coverage for the door handle to leave.
Okay. Yeah. I don't go to the bathroom in the same bathroom with you at a public restroom, so that's maybe why I didn't know that one.
Yeah, that's true. This one I'm surprised you didn't get.
Oh, boy.
I absolutely despise the sound of people eating,
Oh, yes.
chewing,
Yep.
breathing loudly, or swallowing. Really,
Yep.
any annoying
Any
sound.
sounds. Any sounds. Me singing.
It's mostly the breathing and the chewing.
No, it is.
And the eating.
We can't eat dinner together without TV on sometimes because she can't handle my chewing.
I feel like you're just maybe a little bit louder of a chewer than most.
For sure, never cereal.
Oh, gosh.
She'll have to go in the other room if I'm eating cereal.
We haven't had cereal in forever. That sounds so good right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, those, I would say those were 2
I
additions too.
totally know that one for
Yeah.
sure.
I just sometimes even just give you the look, or I just walk away, and
Yeah.
you know that it's just
Yeah, or I can just
so
feel
bad.
it.
Yeah, you can feel you can feel the look.
Just the disgust.
But you have worked on trying to chew softer
Yeah.
and not as like aggressive.
yeah,
You're kind
just-
of an aggressive chewer.
Yeah, I'm just kind of an
aggressive
aggressive eater. Yeah, I try to
Yeah.
get it done and get it out and get it
Yeah,
get it
which
over
is
with. So I think that's from my years of always trying to like gain weight for athletics.
oh
and
my gosh.
trying to have enough food in my system or whatever. But yeah, I've
Like
learned-
the thought of it is making like my skin crawl.
I have learned. Well, I am learning how to chill.
Yeah, slow down.
Actually enjoy the food. There's a reason that food is food and it's good. So you
And
can
like the
enjoy it.
hiccuping and burping through the eating.
I've never done such.
The hiccuping and burping through the eating because you're eating so fast. Like it's your last meal. I can't handle it. I just can't.
I do eat like it's my last meal.
Like seriously, I hope those hiccups
like
hurt
I'm
so
dying.
bad.
Like I'm dying. I need food so bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is
it's-
bad. That's a bad habit.
God, so bad. Oh, I thought of something else that
Oh, good.
is maybe a pet peeve of yours. That is now currently a pet peeve of mine for the opposite reason. It's a pet peeve of yours maybe when there's no like actual protein, high protein in a meal.
Yeah,
That's-
well, it doesn't have to be high. Yeah,
like specifically meat of
yeah.
some kind.
Like I don't want to have noodles for dinner. With just noodles and sauce, with no meat in it.
So now this has become a pet peeve of mine because I can't just make a simple dinner if I wanted to. Ben feels he may physically deteriorate if he goes one meal without having some chicken or some sort of like I've made like good dinners before that was maybe like a big salad with like a lot of delicious ingredients, and you ate a freaking protein shake afterwards. Like just to like make sure that you were gonna survive the next day. It's not even like you're hungry still. It'd be one thing if you're like hungry, but you're like, I need to get my protein
You gotta
intake.
feed the beast.
Oh my gosh, it's just so annoying to me now.
Like I've gotten way better at that.
You have, because I've shamed you.
Yeah. Shaming works. Whoever said shaming doesn't work, honestly.
Well, it just makes sometimes it makes the cooking like really difficult, especially if I don't have like meat on hand and I have other things on hand. I feel like I'm always having to like think about, oh, I got to pick up some sort of meat at the store like for every single meal that we have. And also it's expensive. So maybe if you cooked, I typically always make dinner. So if you maybe made dinner sometimes, it wouldn't be as annoying to me. But that was my last one that I thought of that
that's
is hard for you and then also hard for me.
Yeah.
But anyways.
That'll do it.
That'll do it. See you later. Thanks for joining us on Bizography. Please subscribe or leave a comment. And if you have questions or want to open up a discussion, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook at Bizography. See you next time.